Thank you everyone for joining us. We are the High School of Fashion Industries, located in the vibrant neighborhood of Chelsea in Manhattan, New York. And our topic is focusing on engaging students, who we have 3 of our student equity leaders with us today, engaging them as partners in diversity, equity, and integration work. So we'll start with some brief introductions. In italics, you'll notice some fun facts about the school. We have members of our administration team here, as well as some students. So let's start with the students. A brief introduction, your name, your major, and your grade.
Hi everyone, my name is Jovanka, and I am currently a sophomore at HSFI as a visual merchandising major.
Hi, my name is Anaya Moore. I am a freshman here at the High School Fashion Industries, and I'm a fashion major.
I'm Matthew Ariano, HSFI, as you can see, he and pronouns, and I'm an art major.
Hi, everybody. My name is Daryl Blank. I'm the principal at the High School of Fashion Industries and the very proud principal of our students right here.
Hi, my name is Danielle Silva. I'm one of the assistant principals on staff and also very proud to work with our student equity leaders at HSFI.
And I'm Andre Rodriguez, assistant principal. Very proud of our team, very proud of our students. And fashion is my home away from home. And as you can see in those stats that we're sharing, it's a pretty special place. And we're just, about a decade short of our centennial, Mr. Blank? I'm not sure. I'll have to double check those dates.
I think we're after this year, it'll be 4 years till our centennial. We're 2026, 100 years old.
It's a pretty amazing place and a beautiful Art Deco building in New York City. So the work that we're going to share out today is sort of framed around, our core values. Our race and equity core values really frames our efforts. And that is these 4, the coherence of our work. We're keeping coherence across the school, across our community. And that the work that we do is focused in the classroom, where our students are spending most of their time. We factor in the leadership and are aware of the leadership issues, our students in positions of leadership, and our groups led by a diverse staff and students who are then empowered to make change, right? And our public story. How do we tell our public story? How do we share these efforts, and how do all the pieces fit in? The objectives of this session, so we're going to share our DEI efforts in integrating students into our decision-making processes, as well as building capacity among staff and students, discuss their role as they work side by side with us, administrators and teachers, through yet another equity improvement cycle. This isn't our first rodeo, in order to continue to strengthen our sense of community and improve our instructional practice. Also discuss the process in collaboration with Professor Lee Title to refine our virtual protocols used to observe our classroom instruction, to analyze the learning tasks and develop ideas for next steps. And these are our instructional rounds, which these students were a part of a 3-day intensive instructional rounds process, as well as talk about our next steps and our vision for ongoing improvement. Again, this is something that it's not our first time in an improvement cycle, and it certainly won't be the last, as we focus on their sense of belonging and engage our students and staff in an honest discussion about race, to continue to strengthen our community. And just as our core values frame our efforts, the improvement cycle that you see here anchors the work. And I know at the top of the conference, Dr. Monte Jackson talked a lot about this. That this is work that's anchored to an improvement cycle, where we follow these 6 steps in the work, while also that middle piece continue to develop our initial personal and team equity culture throughout the building, as we continue to expand the work. there's a link here to a document from RIDES that reviews the equity improvement cycle. And what we did recently in a virtual space, this is again our second time doing this, first time virtually, is we engaged our students in an instructional rounds process so that we can continue to center their voice as part of the decision-making processes. And we did our first 3 steps in 3 days. And we have a breakdown of what that looked like. But I wanted to share this because this is what anchors the work that we do, and the work and sort of the ideas that resonated from that. We've developed teams to continue to develop those ideas that will also be anchored to this improvement cycle. So this is just a synopsis and an overview of what those 3 days look like. Day 1, we spent a lot of time with our vision work. And how do we envision the HSFI community incorporating these principles of race and equity within all facets of the school community? So we talked a lot about this with students. We reflected on what that would look like. We framed that vision. And, you know, I just wanted to connect with something that Dr. Moore said about what does that mean, belonging to something, right? And the connection to something. And that's why we engage our students in this work, because what does it mean to them, right? We have to hear from them on what that looks like. So that they're essential to developing a vision for the school and refining the vision and staying within an improvement cycle to keep refining and fine tweaking that vision. Day 2, that's where we went into that virtual classroom space, and students went through a process of understanding what low inference note taking looked like. And they discussed what was observed. These teams that conducted these virtual visits, I looked to identify common patterns along with the root causes of these patterns, right? And what emerged from there were these student working groups that considered some next steps, right? So what are we doing? What significant changes do we need to make collectively to adhere to this vision of equity that we have as a school and staying firm to our core values, right? And at the close of the rounds, we developed these planning teams. So, you know, 5 big ideas came out of that, which have now been condensed slightly. And students and staff members are co-leading this work. But it didn't stop there. We continue to recruit students now that we have these planning areas developed, and are looking to recruit student equity youth leaders to expand the work, right? To build that capacity across the school. And so some of the, and this is just a highlight of those teams. So what emerged out of those rounds were these big ideas, right? And then certainly our students can talk a little bit more about this and their involvement as well. But we have teams focused around student engagement and leadership. Where are there opportunities in the school to do that? How do we talk more about race in the classroom? And that's part of the instructional core, right? Where it's impacting classroom practice, it's impacting students, and it's impacting teachers through the content, right? Other school-wide work on race and racism, and also staff learning and sharing. How is that going to happen? What are the systems that we need to develop for staff to share their best practices around this work? So that just sort of frames what we did and how we're sort of transitioning to continue to expand this work and as I mentioned, to build that capacity. These rounds and some of the data throughout the school led to a refined planning with student voice, looking at that systemic improvement, right? And as we continue to center their voice, as I mentioned, we're expanding the role of our students. And there's a job description that we're going to share with you as well for our race and equity youth leaders, right? This is like a commitment that they're making. And every one of our teams going forward will be anchored to that RIDES improvement cycle that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to replicate these practices for adaptive and systemic improvement. How do we continue to engage our students and staff through instructional rounds, right? More than once per school year. Develop a culture where that happens often, right? And simultaneously continue to work on our PTEC, our personal and team equity culture, in departments, school-wide, interdepartmentally, with students. Our vision is that these student youth leaders lead some of the professional work with our teachers, and we're looking to train them throughout the summer for that. And so without further ado, let's turn it over to the stars of the show, our students. What are the opportunities and challenges? So I want to engage you in this sort of prompt, Jovanka, Anaya, and Matthew. And I also have a message from one of our other student equity leaders, Maria Mukabu, who is celebrating Eid today, but she wanted me to share a message with folks. So what are the opportunities and challenges that young people face, that students face when leading this work?
Hi, everyone. So being a race and equity youth leader definitely has its ups and downs, but more importantly, as an opportunity, I get to talk. Being a student in the school, I would want the school to feel like a second home. And so attending, I want to be able to talk to my teachers about certain topics such as race. And so an opportunity has given me, to talk for the students, for other students who are afraid to speak their mind, and, they just can't find that voice to speak about such things, because school system has built like this hierarchy where it's students, staff, teachers, and where students have to comply to authority. And so they feel like I can't talk to them about this because that's my teacher. I'm here to learn. I'm not here to build such relationships. And so, this is your home. This is your home to learn, but also build relationships. We're all brothers and sisters, And so this is where challenges come in. So in the world we live in, there are a lot of biased attitudes, and students may feel that school is no different, that they'll be treated the same. But no, we're here to speak for you, and we're here to share your story so that you feel comfortable. And we're here to make this school have a more sense of hospitality and comfort, where you could learn, but also build those relationships. And so a challenge is where, students, again, they're scared to speak their mind because of how the world currently is. And, we're here to foster a sense of belonging and unity with teachers, staff, and faculty.
So I'm Matthew. So a challenge that I face as a student is, of course, being a student, and I'm never like seen as a voice. It's always like a shadow, because the name of this group is called the Youth Leaders, and like it's my age that's keeping me a differ from being an actual leader. And this is a challenge that many of us face as students, which is why so many of us keep quiet about difficulties in the classroom or just anywhere else. But an opportunity that I do see is that stuff like this, us coming together, has like enlightened more students to talk. And it's just good to help to change other students' perspective and also change yours to the right one, because we need to be able to like change together.
All right, it's my turn.
Thank you, Matthew.
So again, hi, my name is Anaya Moore. I am a 9th grader and a fashion major at the High School Fashion Industries. I just want to say, when I first started the instructional rounds, I actually recognized the purpose of teamwork with students and teachers, and in our school too, we do a lot of teamwork. So when I saw teachers and students working together to develop what we should do about race and what we should not do about race to themselves and others, it just made me feel like I'm comfortable in this space, you know what I mean? And I chose to be this the race and equity leader because, I want to help others appreciate who they are as a person and appreciate what race they are, no matter what. And I want to let students and teachers know that they have their back. Teachers and students, the teachers have their back no matter what. You know what I mean? And, teachers and students' voices should be heard too. So my goal for this job is to help others realize that race matter, to let all voices be heard no matter what, and to share the purpose of teamwork to everyone. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anaya. So I want to just give Mariamu an opportunity to comment, and she left us a little note. And then I want to circle back to, this is something brand new, developed collaboration between Jovanka, Anaya, and Matthew, a race and equity tree. So I want to give students our opportunity to flesh that out a little bit. But Mariamu is a 9th grader, business and marketing major, and here's what she had to say. Hello, everyone. I hope you've had an amazing day. My name is Mariamu Kaba, and I'm a 9th grade student at the High School of Fashion Industries. I wanted to become a race and equity youth leader for this school because I think that I have what it takes to fight for the students that may not have the confidence to speak up for themselves. I think that this opportunity is amazing. I believe that it will ultimately bring better things to our school and build a sense of community among the teachers and students. Now, even though I'm excited to become a leader, I think that I'll be facing many challenges. The biggest challenge for me is feeling respected by the teachers. As children, we are taught to learn our place amongst adults and to always listen to what they have to say. So I think it'll be difficult for me to feel that I could truly speak freely. All in all, I still believe that this group of students and teachers will work together beautifully and create a better school environment for everyone. So I'm picking up some common themes here, right? That our students want to be heard. They want their voices to be impacted in the decision-making process. So let's go back here and give Jovanka, Anaya, and Matthew an opportunity to talk about this race and equity tree that they develop. And I think we'll start with the root problem here, right? We'll start with that and work our way towards the trunk and the branches. So Matthew, is that you?
Yeah, so the root of the problem. So for students often are held back on their opinions due to fear of judgment and ignorance. Teachers do not know how to come about introducing such topics without pushing past a cloud of tension. Both groups of school communities lack of sense of comfort. And I want to add on to that. On Christmas, for my history class, we learned about Christmas, but today is Eid and we haven't, they don't teach you stuff like this. We have to push past that. This is a holiday for them. If it's not for everyone, Christmas isn't for everyone, and we still learn about it. So we need to be able to teach other races besides just the ones that the school thinks are important.
Thank you, Matt.
Hi again, but at HSFI or at any other school, we want it to feel like a second home where everyone is able to be comfortable and rely on each other's support. So during our planning meetings, we've come up with events and things that we could bring up during the next school year. So that way we could build those relationships. And so we've come up with social circles with teachers and students, creating more spaces where everyone can express themselves and feel acknowledged of their differences. And we've come up with options of opportunities to share stories, which either would be by blogging them or podcasts with anonymous options. And so by doing this, we've identified our problem, but our branches, our support is what's going to lead us to our glistening leaves and goals.
Okay, so then we got the glistening leaves, which is our goal. So students and teachers are on an equal footing of comfort, and the barrier of authority to speak to students is dismantled. Everyone has the courage to speak about their opinions within our school environment. HSFI is a second home to all, raising the sense of hospitality and acceptance. And I want to speak on that because, as a freshman, you first started in high school and you'd be like, oh God, what did I just get into, Did I get into another hole from Alice in Wonderland just falling down. But like at HSFI, you know, we have Mr. Blank giving us voicemails and giving us the announcements in the morning. We have, you know, the teachers when you come into the Zoom, good morning, you know. So we feel like if we, you know, we conquered to reaching our goal, we'll recognize that we are like a loving family, you know. We're like, you know, family to each other. We're like brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? So, you know, this is like our second home to like all of us, you know. That's like, you know, if you're struggling, I have your back no matter what. That's the sense and that's the statement of why that is our goal. So yeah.
Thank you so much to all three of you. And I have a question, a follow-up question for students. Do you think your involvement in instructional rounds, working alongside teachers, has given you a platform and supported you, as you clearly are not holding back on your opinion due to fear? And this is connected to Matthew's comment, right? Here you are with the principal, with the administrator, right? With other educators from across the country, and you're giving us feedback. It's Ramadan, it's Eid, right? This is something that you're encouraging now. You're encouraging your teachers to sort of make that connection in the classroom and instruction. Do you think your experience with teachers has given you a platform to be able to do that? And if so, how can we encourage, right, the student body to sort of be more vocal, right? In the same manner that you are, as a way to sort of refine the teaching or give feedback on the teaching and learning at the school.
Yeah, definitely. With the question about like how we can have other students and if we have knowledge because we have worked with teachers, definitely, you know, like a main thing is like teachers like go, oh yeah, I was a student once, but like at the same time, like, okay, but times have also changed, you know, it's not the same thing. And clearly you liked school because you came back. So we don't all have the same experience. And for other students, I think school has become a burden to many. You know, some don't even join their Zoom classes. They don't do their schoolwork, their homework, because it honestly has become a burden for them. And we just need, like, as a community, not just the students, but we need a way to encourage others and to make it fun. Because if I'm going to go to school just to look at you press a button to change the slideshow, you know, my body might be there, but my head, you know, is somewhere else. And we need to be able to make the classroom more like fun. And I want to go to school to be comfortable, not like, you know, like not just comfortable, like comfortable with the uncomfortable, but also just not having to worry about whether what I'm gonna have to do, and am I gonna have to do this, you know, having a panic attack because I'm afraid of what's gonna happen that day.
Yeah, like to just add on to what Matthew says, you know, we want to make school like a comfortable place for people, you know. Yes, we are in Corona and it's like, you know, oh great, I gotta get up this morning and I'm gonna get on a Zoom. That's the thought all students have in their head. But you know, what we want them to do is have a mindset like, all right, this is a new lesson. This is a new lesson. And this is it's a lot, Mom. This is a new okay, this is a new lesson. I'm gonna pay attention. I'm gonna have my notepad. I'm gonna have my pen. You know, you want to be prepared for like the lesson. You know, I was just telling this like to our group. Like sometimes the people that don't want to go to class, I feel like are they willing to like just get an education for just 1 second? Are they willing to just help? You know, try to get a better grade. You know, are they trying? Are they putting in effort? Are they taking risks? Are they being engaged? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we need, you know, the students and teachers, we're going to try to make a way so that students can feel more comfortable in the classrooms. The classrooms can be more, you know, try to be fun. And, you know, as we just said, as the Racing Youth leaders, we as leaders are going to try. We're going to put in the effort that we need. E for effort is the word. You know, we're going to put in our effort. We're going to take risks. We're going to try. to try to engage students back into liking school again. Thank you.
Thank you, Anaya.
I just want to add on to what Matthew has said. I agree where students this year has not been the best. Well, some people have had it better than others. Like for me, online school wasn't as hard, but for others it has gone worse, and it's understandable. It's not one of the best years. But again, our school, we're trying to, okay. So the instructional rounds, we got to bond with our teachers, seeing them more as people than just like instructors and educators, which I appreciate very much, because it gave me a better bond within the school. And now I know, oh, I know this teacher, I know that teacher. And so being a student, I would want to feel more comfortable. And I know that a bunch of my peers would want to feel comfortable. And so with our work, with the upcoming year, we're trying to build bonds first and then slowly start educating more, because obviously at school you have to learn, but do it with less tension, where it's student teacher listen, where it's like friend and friend, but I'm educating you.
Thank you so much. And so on our end, from a administrative end, we want to tweak our system so that we continue to empower these students, and that's through our race and equity student leaders. And I think based off of your feedback today, we should consider rebranding and removing the youth and replacing with student leaders. Matthew, I know that will make you happy. Javanka is smiling. But here's a formal job description of what they're going to be doing. And we have, I believe, about 40 students interested in this work. That we have, of course, 6 student leaders, but the work is being expanded. And these students are encouraged to have a strong voice around the issues of race and equity. They're going to work with other students and staff around these issues. They'll participate in weekly meetings, weekly planning sessions, to come up with professional learning experiences for our teachers. That's going to be really powerful. We don't know what that's going to look like yet. And so we're going to engage our students in that professional learning development. And they'll be available in our summer through our summer bridge program, where we're going to be supporting our incoming 9th graders, as well as our rising 10th graders, who many haven't been in the building, like Anaya, right? So they're going to be working on some activities, on some experiences for these students. And you see there's a full job description for our race and equity student leaders. We really want to continue to enhance the voice of students and continue to center their voice as part of our decision-making processes. And I think this is the biggest shift we've ever made as a school, and expansion of the work with our students. So we have about 12 minutes. So we'll give folks an opportunity to come back to some common themes, reflections, questions, any missed opportunities, any feedback for us. We'd really love to hear from you all.
So I just want to say how thrilled I am to see you all here and to hear from the students, and also hear from you, Andre, kind of representing the administration in what's a big mindset shift for schools and school districts to really do. I also want to just share from a personal point of view that when I got the note that that at least one of your students wasn't going to be able to come because it was Eid, I did a because I was involved in setting the date and hadn't checked that calendar. So I just want to apologize because that was our bad collectively as a team. And thank you for sharing that. And that is a great example of how finding voice is important, because otherwise people, otherwise you could walk around with just a resentment and you'd think like, what's wrong with these folks at Harvard? They're not even paying attention to that. So thank you for kind of naming that. And one of the things that I've always learned is that the most respectful thing to do when you're when people, when they have more power than you, if you have the courage to do it, is to name like what's going on, like to speak up and not just get pushed down. So I thank you. And I guess the question I have for all of you, students and adults alike, is what do you think is the hardest part for the adults in shifting to kind of really embracing this notion of co-leadership?
I would say the hardest, I think, for adults, they would own, they see the students and they'd be like, okay, I have to teach them. Today is my day to teach. I got to teach them on the board. Let me just explain it. How should I explain the lesson for the day? That's what the whole, the thought. How do I want to explain, things? What is my lesson plan for the day? And, the hardest part is having, when a student don't say, I'm confused. I need help. That's the main thing that students don't want to say. I need help. I'm confused on something. And, as we are going to help, students and teachers be able to just say, and the teachers be able to have their backs, the students' backs, no matter what, okay, I see you're struggling. Let me help you. After class, I'm going to help you. I'm going to, tutor it. I'm going to try to teach it to you the simplest way I can. Because that's the teacher's goal, to make sure they move on to the next grade, to make sure they graduate and go to college and have a great career in the future. And, in this work and what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be helping teachers be able to try to let the students know, look, I have your back. I'm going to help you out no matter what. I'm going to teach it to you the simplest way I can so that you understand. So you can graduate out of high school, be able to go into college, and be able to graduate out of college to become whoever you want to be in the future. Because we all have a goal and we all want to be, students always say, when I grow up, I'm going to do this. For example, when I grow up, I'm going to LA. I'm doing the LA vibes over there. And what I'm doing right now is, what? If I need help, I'm going to ask for help. And I'm going to be like, and for me, it's like a way so teachers know that I'm listening. I'm paying attention, I'm being there in the classroom. Like Matthew says, people, students, body is physically there sitting there, but their mind would be wandering off, oh, what am I going to eat for lunch today? What are we going to have for dinner? Different mindsets. So we want the teachers and we want the students to just stay focused. So then the teachers know, are you confused still? Do you need help? And that's what we kind of did.
Thanks. Others?
Yeah.
I think the hardest part is change. I mean, change is hard for anyone, period. But I think for the teachers now, it's gonna have to be changed because, especially for a teacher that's been teaching for a long time, they're so used to this way, and now we're like, no, that's not the right way. You should do it this way. It's gonna be hard for them to adapt to the new style of teaching.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matthew. Anything you want to add, Javanka, before we take there's a question in the chat from Lisa, and I think Steve had his hand up as well.
I just want to say a challenge for adults would be trying to look through the student's perspective of life. Mm-hmm. So we have white teachers and we have Black teachers, and so these two different races in life are very distinctive, and Black people of color have experienced more oppression, and so students growing up experience that even at early ages, And so trying to integrate these topics into school, I feel like teachers wouldn't know how to, because they don't want to come off as misunderstanding, or they don't want to be looked as ignorant. But again, it's just that teachers don't really know how to speak lightly about these things, and that's basically what our work is, to productively talk about race with teachers and students so that we can all have that comfortable relationship with each other.
Thank you, Javanka. And Lisa, your question, regarding the recruitment process, my colleague Danielle Silva pretty much summarized the recruitment process. The only thing I would add to that is that we actually had students recruit other students as well, which is pretty neat. And we had graduates of the high school fashion industries who are currently at university come back and speak to our students and talked a lot about their experience as well, which I think was pretty powerful for some of our students here. In addition to that, we have a special schedule on Wednesday where we have clubs and activities. There is no instruction on Wednesday, and we have a DEI student group, and that's a lot of the students are part of that club. I think we have a pretty solid number of students that attend and are vocal and are active. And so there's like a large, there's a tremendous amount of interest in this conversation at the school, and work around some of the ideas that come up. Yeah, we have about 1,700 students.
I'd like to just add on. Oh, sorry, Mr. Sorry. To add on to what Mr. Rodriguez says, Wednesdays is like an opportunity for students to like meet new people, meet new teachers, and they have like, a bond. Like for example, right? So funny story is, like, I'm joining this club called cosmetology. It's people want to be cosmetics. I met that teacher when I went to my first high school fair, and seeing this school. And I was like, ooh, this school is nice. Let me just get this paper. And he actually explained to me about the school. So the funny thing is now, when I look back to that situation, I'm like, wow, so I really was into this, and I really wanted to do this. And now I have met the teacher. Students and teachers, we have another thing called race and equity. So we have a group of teachers, we have a group, we have a group of teachers, and we have a group of students that we talk about race and like situations. And we have a social circle too, like when there's things going around in the world, we try to have a conversation so we can hear their opinions. So with that, we are like, we're trying to bond, have students and teachers be able to work together and, create a friendship. That's what we want. You can't, what I mean? You can't have peanut butter and jelly and you can't put them together. You gotta put them together, because guess what? At the end of the day, they're working hard and they're trying to help them out.
Thank you, Naya. I wanted to add, so we tried to communicate and, with the whole school about the rounds, and just keep everybody updated, and we're continuing to work on that. But then, I sent out as principal, sort of like, to our internal high school fashion industries email and our online grading messages, just sort of like, so who's interested in being a race and equity youth leader? And, we created an application, just basically just, why do you want to become a race and equity youth leader? And that's where, again, as Mr. Rodriguez said, as Andre said, we had 45 applicants. So it's sort of like we had the base from our Wednesday clubs and activities. We tried to communicate what was going on, and it sort of, picked up the steam to where when we sent out that application for those race and equity youth leaders positions, we did get that response.
Thank you.
Steve, do you still have your question? I know you were raising your hand. So
Yeah, thank
I'm
you,
sorry,
Ivana.
we've been talking way too much.
No, you have not been talking too much, not at all. Anaya, thank you. I feel like Jovanka answered my question earlier. I was just wondering about how you were bringing teachers, especially white teachers, into this conversation, you know, when we're not always prepared to have the conversation. So yeah, and thank you, Jovanka, for what you were saying about that.
And I just wanted to underscore that because it's worth noting that, you know, most of the teachers at Fashion are white and most of the students are students of color. And so when you bring together equal parts of the, you know, of those two groups, you end up with a group that is mixed racially and also mixed in terms of power. And not entirely, of course, because there were white students involved and there are teachers of color involved, but proportionally. And you know, and so I'm glad, Jovanka, that you name that, because I think it's important to name that that's another dynamic that's going on, which is that not only are we asking teachers to listen to, kids, but they're also asking a lot of white teachers to listen to a lot of kids of color. I want to give it back to you to close in 51 seconds.
I mean, it's a great question, Steve, and we are thinking a lot about that. How do we continue to engage our teachers in that? And I think it starts with building community with them as well. And, you know, we did embark on this a few years ago with the Courageous Conversations work and implicit bias work. How does that continue to live at the school while still engaging in that equity improvement cycle where it's impacting instruction and impacting the student experience? And that's why we have students as part of our planning teams to help us with that. You know, what they're in the classrooms more than we are, right? So that's why they're here, right? So thank you all for joining us. It's really powerful when you have students leading this work. So
thank you.